HOA called my Bugatti an eyesore until a magazine named it the car of the year. You arrogant little sh*t. Do you think you can just roll up in here and ignore the rules? Richard Halverson's face is red, spit flying, veins bulging, finger jabbing the air. The protagonist, arms crossed, leans casually against the Bugatti, the sleek, black paint gleaming under the streetlights. I don't think I can ignore the rules, Richard. I know I can. Gasps ripple through the small crowd of nosy neighbors gathering on their pristine driveways. Richard's beady eyes twitch. He steps forward, chest puffed, full of fake authority. You smug son of a b*tch. I'll have this car gone if it's the last thing I do. The protagonist smirks. This is going to be fun. Welcome to Oak Ridge Estates, a luxury gated community where the lawns are identical, the fences are white, and the HOA rules are gospel. A place where people pretend to be polite, but live to control each other. And nothing screams violation in this neighborhood like a jet black Bugatti Chiron sitting in the protagonist's driveway like a middle finger to the status quo. Most houses have Lexus SUVs, sedans, maybe a Tesla if they feel modern. A Bugatti. Unacceptable. Not just different. An insult to their precious aesthetic. And at the top of this suburban dictatorship is Richard Halverson, a power-drunk HOA president who treats bylaws like holy scripture and hates anything he can't control. The protagonist moved in 2 weeks ago, and from day one, Richard was watching, waiting, and now here they are, face to face, in the middle of the street. The battle begins. Richard snatches a paper from his clipboard, waving it like a weapon. This is your third violation. Do you even read your F***ing mail? The protagonist takes the paper, glances at it, and laughs. Aesthetic disruption clause? Jesus, Richard, did you make this up just for me? A murmur spreads through the small crowd, some neighbors whispering, others pretending not to watch. Richard's jaw clenches. He's losing control of the narrative. Listen, asshole, he growls. I run this HOA. And I say, no, you enforce rules, Richard. The protagonist steps forward, voice calm but sharp. And I checked. There's nothing in your holy rulebook about cars. Richard's eyes twitch. Caught. But he's not backing down. This isn't about a rule. It's about respecting the F***ing community. He explodes, motioning to the houses. Look around. You think anyone wants to see your goddamn midlife crisis on wheels? The protagonist chuckles, slow and deliberate. I think plenty of people do. They pull out their phone, swiping to a video. A magazine photo shoot. The Bugatti, right there in the driveway, shining like a dream. The gasps grow louder. Richard's face turns pale. The protagonist smirks. I hope you like publicity, Richard. You're about to get a lot of it. Richard's face is still frozen in shock. The magazine cover gleams on the protagonist's phone screen, like a declaration of war. You F***ing smartass. Richard finally spits, jabbing a trembling finger at the Bugatti. You think some flashy bull***T magazine article means you can do whatever the hell you want? The protagonist locks eyes with him, completely unfazed. I don't think, Richard. I know. The crowd murmurs. Some neighbors exchange glances. Others pretend they're not hanging on every word. Richard squares his shoulders, puffing out his chest, desperate to regain ground. Fine. Do you want to play legal? We'll play legal. He pulls a fresh document from his clipboard and slaps it against the protagonist's chest. The protagonist glances at it. $500 fine. A deadline. A threat. They chuckle. You think a fine is going to scare me? Richard smirks now, like a predator smelling blood. No, but stacking fines? Getting your ass sued? I guarantee that'll wipe that smug F***ing grin off your face. A woman in a beige cardigan gasps dramatically. A man in golf shorts chuckles under his breath. Richard's confidence returns. He feeds on control, on fear. Either the car goes, or your bank account does. He sneers. The protagonist doesn't blink. Try me. A dangerous silence lingers. Then, Richard spins on his heel. You're done here. But as he storms off, he doesn't see the smirks exchanged among the crowd. Not everyone's on his side. The retaliation is swift. Within 2 days, the protagonist's mailbox is overflowing with letters. Then, the real kicker. A notice for a mandatory HOA hearing. The protagonist just leans back in their chair, sipping coffee. Oh, Richard, you're trying so hard. But the petty sh*t doesn't stop there. One morning, they step outside to find that someone has tossed garbage on their driveway. Not just any garbage, old fast food wrappers, beer cans, and Jesus. Is that a F***king diaper? They know exactly who's behind it. But instead of taking the bait, the protagonist pulls out their security camera footage. Later that evening, while Richard is holding his usual HOA meeting, the protagonist airdrops the footage to every HOA board member's phone. A grainy night vision clip appears. Richard's dumbass lackeys sneaking onto the driveway, dumping trash like raccoons in golf shirts. Gasps. Awkward throat clears. Richard looks like he's about to explode. The protagonist just smirks from the back row. Littering is against HOA rules, right? The war is no longer just a feud. It's full-blown psychological warfare. Richard's desperation is showing. The protagonist? Cool, calculated, and prepared to burn this whole HOA dictatorship to the ground. Richard is spiraling. The protagonist knew he'd take the bait. The exposed corruption, the public humiliation, it's eating him alive. And now, he's lashing out like a wounded animal. The protagonist wakes up to a range sticker slapped across their front door. Your vehicle is now an official safety hazard. Immediate action is required. Failure to comply will result in towing at the owner's expense. The protagonist chuckles, pulling the sticker off with ease. A safety hazard? Yeah, sure. And Richard has a full head of hair. They skim the letter. Due to recent aesthetic concerns, your property value is under review. Homeowners in violation may face increased association fees to offset the depreciation of neighboring properties. We're gonna make your life hell until you cave. The protagonist laughs out loud. Richard is flailing. This is a weak-ass bluff. Counteroffer. Fuck around and find out. The letter is dropped off at the HOA office personally, with a wink at the receptionist. 2 private security goons step out, puffing their chests like they're in a damn action movie. Sir, this vehicle is not authorized for street parking past 10 p.m. The protagonist checks their watch. 9:58 p.m. Oh, this is cute. They fold their arms. I've got 2 minutes. You want to stand here and count with me? The guards hesitate. Behind them, Richard, watching like a smug king from his porch. The protagonist walks right past the guards and calls out, "How's it feel knowing your days are numbered, Richard?" Richard doesn't reply, but his fists say everything. Richard's losing grip, and it's showing. The divide is growing. Richard's control is slipping, and that's when he makes his biggest mistake yet. The protagonist steps outside and stops cold. A flatbed tow truck sits in the driveway. A burly tow driver leans against it, checking paperwork. Standing right beside him is Richard, smiling. I warned you. The protagonist takes a slow breath, staring at the tow truck. The driver looks uncomfortable. Even now, it is F***ed up. The protagonist steps forward. Move that truck. Now. Richard grins wider. No. You move the car. Or it's gone. A crowd is forming. Neighbors peeking from windows. The protagonist's jaw tightens. Then smirks. Go ahead, Richard. Tow it. Richard's grin falters. What? The protagonist leans against the Bugatti, completely unbothered. Do it. The tow driver hesitates. This thing's worth like $3 million. Richard spins on him. Just F***ing do it. The driver pulls out his phone. Yeah, I'm gonna need some kind of waiver. I'm not touching that thing without legal clearance. Richard is vibrating with rage. Fine. I'll get the HOA to file an order. The protagonist sighs dramatically. You mean an order from the HOA that's currently under investigation for fraud? The crowd erupts into whispers. Richard freezes. The protagonist pulls out their phone, clicking on a news article. The war is at its peak. Richard's control is hanging by a thread. The protagonist is locked and loaded, and the entire neighborhood is on edge. It's time for the final confrontation. Let's F***ing end this. The clubhouse is packed. More people than ever before. Normally, HOA meetings are boring as hell. Old people bickering about fence heights. Not tonight. Tonight, it's a goddamn trial. At the front of the room, Richard, standing tall. Suit pressed, HOA bylaws stacked in front of him, like he's the King of suburbia. At the back, the protagonist, arms crossed, smirking. A murmur spreads as the protagonist enters. Richard slams a gavel down. Let's begin. The first order of business is this menace. He points directly at the protagonist. Due to repeated violations, direct defiance of HOA policies, and the disruption of our peaceful community, we are officially voting on the forced removal of this individual's vehicle. A few old-timers nod in agreement, but the younger residents, the families, they aren't buying it anymore. Richard's power is slipping. The protagonist leans forward. Before you take that vote, Richard, let's talk about disruption. Let's talk about your King mess. And just like that, the real show begins. The protagonist pulls out a thick-ass folder, slaps it on the table. This is every single shady deal, illegal fine, and fraudulent expense you've made over the last 5 years. Gasps. Richard's eyes dart around the room. This is bullshit. The protagonist grins. Oh, really? The room is dead silent. Richard is visibly sweating. And then, the kill shot. The protagonist pulls out one final paper. The moment his name appears on the document, Richard snaps. But the damage is done. The crowd erupts. Richard grabs his gavel and pounds it down like a lunatic. The protagonist just smiles. Not for long, buddy. The war is over. HOA is shattered. Richard has been dragged out like a screaming toddler. But the protagonist? They're just getting started. Winning isn't enough. The real victory is making damn sure this never happens again. Let's King end this story the right way. The HOA audit results are in. The protagonist wakes up to a beautiful sight. Oh, Richard, buddy. The best part? The HOA is forced to return thousands in illegal fines. The protagonist logs into their bank account. $3,500 HOA refund deposited. They laugh. Richard tried to drain their account with fake fines. Now, the HOA is paying them. Oh, the King irony. Richard is losing it. The HOA stripped him of his position. The legal team, coming for his wallet. The community, the King hate him now. His pristine, smug-ass world is collapsing. And the cherry on top? His own damn house is now violating HOA rules. The new HOA board? They fine his ass for every last one. Oh, how the tables have turned. And guess what? He can't pay. Because the moment that embezzlement charge hits, his bank accounts get frozen. Game over. The protagonist takes a slow walk through the neighborhood. Something's changed. And most importantly, right where it belongs. No fines. No complaints. Just respect. The protagonist opens the door. It's Greg, the guy with the plumbing van. Hey, just wanted to say thanks. The protagonist raises a brow. For what? Greg shuffles awkwardly. For not backing down. For calling out the bullshit. We all saw it. We were just too scared to fight it. The protagonist leans against the doorframe, smirking. So what you're telling me is, you owe me free plumbing for life. Greg snorts. Yeah, I do. The new board is in place. And guess what? And it's all because one person fought back. The protagonist gets an email. The automotive magazine. They're doing a feature on the car. Right in the protagonist's driveway. Yes, right King there. The same driveway that Richard had tried to erase it from. The photographer sets up shots, adjusting the lighting. The protagonist leans against the Bugatti, arms crossed, smirking. I hope Richard sees this. Oh, he will. The man who tried to control everything has lost it all. The protagonist steps onto the porch, watching the neighborhood finally breathe. No HOA bullshit. No Richard. Just peace. They take one last look at the Bugatti. A car that started a war and won. A slow smile. And with that, they turn back inside. Because this fight is over. And they fucking won.